I've worked the front desk at the Queen Mary long enough to know when the ship is breathing wrong. Most nights, she just creaks and exhales. But sometimes, on the rare nights when the fog rolls in off the water, thick enough to hide the shore, she watches. That was the kind of night it was when the system reassigned a couple to cabin B-340. The computer shouldn't have even suggested that room. It's locked out. Permanently. Too many incidents. A woman waking up with scratches that spelled out her name in reverse. A man who said something whispered to him in his wife's voice for hours, even though she had died 2 years earlier. And one guest, the last one, broke her own arm against the headboard in her sleep. So B-340 is blocked. No one should have been reassigned. But that night, there it was, reconfirmed. Cabin B-340, paid in full. The couple arrived just after midnight. Honeymooners, by the look of it. She carried a small bouquet someone had left in the lobby. Oddly wilted, but she clutched it like it meant something. I told them the room had issues. The plumbing's not reliable. I lied. We can upgrade you. No charge. The woman smiled at me. I've always wanted to stay there, she said. That stopped me cold. She shouldn't have known about it. They took the key and left. I watched them board the elevator, my palms damp on the counter. A little after 2, I pulled up the hallway cam. The door to B-340 was wide open, but the hallway was empty. No one in sight. I dialed the room. 3 rings. Then, click. A woman's voice whispered, "She's not sleeping anymore." The call disconnected. I called security. They arrived 10 minutes later. By the time they got to the room, the husband was kneeling on the floor. He was shaking, drenched in sweat, eyes unfocused. He said he woke up alone. His wife wasn't in bed. The bathroom door was shut, and the shower was running. He called to her, no answer. He went in. The mirror was steamed over. He wiped it clean and saw someone else standing behind him. Not his wife. A woman in a soaked black dress, hair stuck to her face, eyes wide. Her mouth moved like she was screaming, but made no sound. Then the lights flickered, and the water turned ice cold. He blacked out. When he came to, the bathroom was empty. The mirror was clear, but handprints, small ones, lined the glass and scratched faintly above them. Stay. They searched the room. No signs of a struggle. No blood. No exit. Her phone was on the nightstand. Her shoes still under the bed. And the bouquet? Gone. An hour later, I reviewed the hallway footage again. There was a new clip from right outside B-340. It shows the door opens slightly, and then the bouquet floats out into the hallway. No one holding it. It drifts down the corridor, petal by petal falling off. Then, at 4:03, the bouquet is found in the drained first-class pool, bone dry for decades. But the bouquet? Soaked. Its petals lay scattered around it, each one darkened with moisture. And leading toward the bouquet, across the cracked tile floor, were multiple wet footprints. The Queen Mary is beautiful from the dock, a grand relic from another time. You walk on board, and it's all gleaming brass, polished wood, the scent of salt and varnish. But below deck, past the exhibits and the tour groups, it's different. The ship is hollow, heavy. The air is cooler, even in the middle of summer. I was an intern at the onboard Maritime Museum. Just a summer gig, unpaid of course. I cataloged uniforms, translated old logbooks, filed paperwork. But sometimes, they'd leave me to tidy up alone at night. That's when I first felt the Queen Mary watching me. The lower crew quarters were a labyrinth of narrow corridors and low ceilings, pipes overhead, bulkheads the color of ash. I was in the forward section, just off the engine rooms, packing away a display of WW2-era naval uniforms. It was just after 1 when I heard footsteps, not soft, hesitant ones. No, these were military steps, precise, echoing cleanly off the metal floors. I poked my head into the corridor. A man passed by the open hatch, dressed in an old-fashioned boiler suit. The patches were faded but authentic. Everything down to the stitching looked real. We had reenactors for public tours during the day, but nobody should have been in uniform that late. followed him. He walked slowly, his back perfectly straight. He turned a corner without looking at me. When I got there, he was standing at the end of the corridor, motionless. I called out, "Hey, you're not supposed to be down here." He turned, and I stopped cold. His eyes were wide open, but they weren't eyes anymore. They were filled with seawater, literally, sloshing, shimmering, holding the movement of waves behind his sockets. Then his mouth opened, and water poured out, endless seawater. No gagging, no coughing, just a silent, impossible stream flowing down his chin and pooling at his feet. I stumbled backward, the corridor around me warping like I was underwater too. My ears popped. The air turned briny, thick. Then he took a step toward me. The sound of it echoed like a sonar ping, slow and pulsing. I blinked, and he was gone. The water vanished, but every uniform I had laid out, gone, vanished, all of them. I ran back up to the staff break room, heart pounding, soaked in cold sweat. The next morning, I told the curator. He laughed it off at first, until we reviewed the security footage. The camera shows me walking through the corridor, alone, but I'm talking, turning my head like I'm answering someone. Then, at 1:16, the lights behind me go out one by one, in perfect sync. And just before the camera glitches into static, there's a flash of movement behind me, a reflection in one of the pipes. Not mine, someone else, face pale, mouth wide, still pouring water. I thought that was the end of it. But the following week, we received a package from an anonymous donor, an oilcloth-wrapped bundle with no return address. Inside, a boiler suit, same patchwork, same rust stains, and inside one of the pockets, a folded note. He drowned in silence, but now the Queen carries his breath. We displayed it for a week, until guests started complaining about the exhibit fogging up the glass case on its own. We eventually locked the uniform in the archives. But even now, when I walk past the lower quarters, sometimes I hear footsteps behind me. I signed up as a volunteer for the Queen Mary's preservation team last winter. Most of it was grunt work, dusting display cases, fixing exhibit lights, but I didn't mind. Being alone on the ship after closing hours gave me space to think. Except one night, I found myself assigned to the radio control room, Deck B stern side. A narrow space filled with aging transmitters, knobs, dials, and an antique military radio that once received transatlantic wartime communications. That radio's not connected anymore, just a static museum piece. At least, that's what they told me. I was cleaning the display glass when the lights overhead dimmed, only for a moment, just long enough for the radio to click on. A soft hiss, then a voice, male, calm, British accent. "Queen Mary, this is Enfield Base. Do you copy?" I stood there frozen. The plug lay on the floor, unplugged from the wall. I didn't move. The voice repeated. "Queen Mary, we are under fire. Repeat, taking on water. Casualties unknown. Please respond." I reached out slowly and touched the dial. It was warm. The glass over the frequency gauge was fogged up, and I swear, something moved behind it. I stepped back, heart pounding, took out my phone to record, but the moment I hit record, the radio let out a sharp burst of static, loud enough to make me drop my phone. Then came a second voice. "They're still here, below deck, screaming in the cold." I ran, left the room, headed toward the main stairwell. But every corridor looked wrong, mirrored, distorted. Cabin doors appeared where storage rooms should be. I passed the same mop bucket 3 times. It was like the ship had rewired itself. And then I heard the radio again. Not from the room I left, from inside one of the guest cabins. I followed the sound, even though my instincts screamed not to. The door creaked open by itself, and inside was the same radio room. Except now there was a man sitting at the console, back turned to me, soaking wet. He wore a naval jacket, hands frozen on the controls. I whispered, "Sir?" He turned. His face was bloated and pale, like it had been underwater for days. Eyes bulging, lips blue, skin stretched tight over swollen cheeks. His lips barely moved, but I still heard him clearly. "It's never stopped transmitting. Then everything went black. The next morning, I returned to that room. The radio sat in its case, but the frequency gauge still fogged and scrawled into the condensation, so faint I almost missed it, were 5 numbers. 19142. That number matched a crew member's ID from 1943. He drowned in a flooded comms compartment after staying behind to issue final transmissions. I looked up his final message. It never arrived. The signal was cut. But every once in a while, at 1:42 sharp, the museum speakers crackle, just once, and the antique radio warms. Still unplugged. Every haunting has a witness. You've just become one. Subscribe and never be alone again.